Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. Wall Street Jesus here. Saturday Sweep Series webinar. Markets in turmoil. Coming off a down week, a down Friday, a bloodbath of a Friday. People jumping off buildings, slicing their wrists. Nah, just kidding. But we finally got a legitimate pullback. Finally, the music has, I can't say stopped yet. I would say the music has paused. Let's say the music has stopped, put it that way. All right. And that melt up mode that was just taking everything and its mother and its aunt and its grandmother higher has paused for the time being. All right. And you could probably sense it in my voice already. I get it a little pep in my step, excited when things like this happen. And it sounds ridiculous. It's kind of like, well, Lucci, we know Lucci. Like Lucci, when he sees blood on the board, when he sees red on the Quotron, I'm showing my age. He gets excited. Seriously, he gets excited. Like the market could be full out rage mode going higher, and you can't get a smile out of Luch. But you have a day like Friday, you have a day where they're selling all over the yard, and he's screaming out "die, die, die" to all his beloved names, Priceline and all those doozies. He gets excited about that, and I figured it out. It's kind of, I'm the same way, but I don't get excited about bloodbath, okay? Because I don't really participate on the short side at all unless I really, really have to, and that's very, very rare, okay? And I don't get too excited in melt-up mode either, okay? And I think I figured out why. Because Lucci has an edge, a style that he likes to trade off of, okay? He needs or extremely wants volatility. He wants those wide ranges. He wants to be able to short something that's bounced significantly and catch that 3-point move quickly in a win or something like that, and then buy, get long for the bounce. So I figured out that's what gets him excited. He likes the blood, but I think that's what really excites him, is that that's where he's best. In the melt up we just had, he was rarely around. Like he had no interest. Okay. And it's not that he couldn't find a way to make money. There were ways to make money. All you had to do was get long, right? And make a little bit of money. But his edge wasn't there. Okay. His edge wasn't there because all the market was doing was melting up. Every jabroni, every riffraff in the world felt like a guru because everything was going up. Everybody thought they had a trading system by trading just, the hot names, buying them every day, like we said, up the ladder and making money. And that doesn't last. And then the traders who are more experienced and have a certain edge style feel more comfortable when the norm is back, kind of. Okay, because you got to understand, the traders, there's nothing wrong with taking advantage of a melt-up mode. Okay, there's nothing wrong. We've been talking about that for weeks now, that there's no reason to try to be cute, no reason to try to short the market. You don't feel comfortable, lighten up, take on some protection, do what you need to do, but still participate. It's foolish not to. Okay, we were talking a little bit before the webinar started here that, the market finally pulled, but every single one of us in here, including myself, thought the market was going to pull a long time ago. before this happened up here. So that's why I'm a big fan. And you know, I was in everybody else's shoes. Early on in my career, I had the same issue where I just me. That's my temperament. Okay, that's my emotions. That's how I'm wired. I never feel comfortable chasing. Those of you who know me from the room know I just don't feel comfortable chasing. I don't care what type of flow it catches, you know, how strong the name is. When a chart is just straight up, I cannot come up at the top and place a bet. And honestly, that's cost me a lot of money. Okay. But that's just the way I'm wired. There's nothing I can do about it. I can fight that all day long. That's just the way I'm wired. All right. So for me, I learned early on in my career that it was foolish to just not participate at all. I knew early on, just examples around me of people blowing up around me, trying to short bull markets, thinking the top was in, short, run over, short, run over. So I learned early on in my career that was a no-no. I wasn't even going to try to figure that part out. All right. But one thing I think that I realized early on was that I needed to participate. Even though I didn't feel totally comfortable, I needed to have some participation in some way. So that's why I'm a big proponent. And I was telling you guys for so long, I get it. I agree with you. You know, the market's extended. The sentiment out there is as bullish as we've seen. I mean, it's a full-fledged bull market, global bull run out there. So for me, it was to size down to the point where I was comfortable. Okay, nobody likes to lose money. So I'm not going to say to the point where you don't give a crap, you know, if you step on a loser, but to the point where it doesn't hurt you. And more importantly, you have more ammo, and you have ammo ready to fire when your time comes around. Okay, and any trader who has an edge doesn't have an edge. Any professional trader out there does not have an edge in melt-up mode. Like I said, everybody, it's almost like an even playing field out there. Okay? You're in the same ballpark as the riffraff and retail trader out there. But when things get a little dicey, when things start to pull back, when everybody's caught and doesn't have a clue, that's when the true colors of whatever game plan, whatever strategy you develop are going to come out. That's where you're going to know if you have something real and you can last trading this market. You know, you hear stories out there of a lot of people, okay, who've made a lot of money over the last year, especially in this market, and think they found it. Like they think that's it. They've seen the light. They'll never lose money anymore. They're going to make money consistently in the market. But what they fail to realize is the market allowed them to make money. Okay? So don't get me wrong now. You can have a simple strategy that when the markets are smoother, the trend is smooth, okay, that's where you're looking to make some money. You're going to give some back when things get rocky, but you're going to move to the sidelines until a clearer trend comes into the picture. That could be your strategy. If you have the discipline, that could be your strategy right there. The problem is you're going to go through periods of time where you're going to be completely on the sidelines and not participating, not making any money. Does your lifestyle, does everything around you fit that bill? Okay, so again, melt-up mode, it's fun. But now you're going to see, you as a trader, what you really have when things get dicey. And listen, I'm not saying this is going to end up being something really dicey. We could end up being, honestly, we could rally Tuesday next week and make up that whole candle. Would you be shocked? With the sentiment shift that I saw, the shorter term sentiment shift that I saw off of Friday, I wouldn't be shocked Monday if we make up that candle. All right, but the example I'm trying to give here is that what happened, especially over the last month in January, the market helped out a lot with that. Okay, helped out a lot with that. I'm telling you, even with flow, like there were some big winners out of flow, but I wasn't even all that impressed because everything was going higher. Everything was going higher. You know, there was no rotation. Remember we were talking about rotation? Like I'm a big fan of rotation. I think that's where flow provides a huge edge for me, is when the big money is rotating sectors, because early on, the flow allows me to pick up on what groups they may be looking at, and I can get in and ride that wave. Okay. There was no rotation. It was all out. It was just melt up everywhere. All right. So that's what I'm hoping for, knock on wood. Okay. If I could have a picture perfect setup out of all this that we've seen so far up to Friday, is that the market chops around, maybe some weakness. I'll even take weakness for a little more. Let's get through a little more of these earnings, get them the hell out of the way, because I can't take it anymore with these earnings. And then we could start really paying closer attention to the flow and see where the money's going. Because the one good thing I could tell you right now that's been going on, even before Friday, they've been taking some names and taking profit off the table and some stuff under the hood. So there already have been a decent amount of names that have been coming in, selling off earnings, stuff like that. So if they want to rotate coming out of earnings season, they're going to be able to. Now, also, you have some stuff that's held up well. Okay, Friday, some of that stuff got hit over the head. But like the financials before Friday, right? They were in, the definition of melt-up mode. Okay, so if they come out of this stuff, they're going to, if we don't go into all-out correction mode, and that's always a possibility, they could start focusing on some of the stuff that already got hit off earnings and start moving some money there. A lot of the economically sensitive stuff already took a beating. They've been handing out beatings out there. And, rates have a lot to do with it. There's a lot of noise out there, a lot of stuff out there. The market's trying to factor in a lot right now. Okay? A lot right now. And the good thing is, this market that we're in right now does it as fast as I've ever seen in my career. It used to drag out. The process used to drag out. Now, when a market wants to factor something in, it goes bink, bink, bink. So this is a good time. A lot of the names you guys have been asking me over and over and over and over and over again throughout this whole webinar series, each and every Saturday. And like a piker, I kept saying, I don't know what to tell you, right? That was my answer. It goes up every day. There's flow. It goes up every day. What do you want me to tell you? It looks bullish. Those names now, if they come in and show some sort of consolidation, you can look for flow there. Okay, a lot of those names, even if you were waiting for a pullback, you should start looking. If you remember the last couple of webinars, once earnings season started up, it's more of a watch list type of environment than trading environment, in my opinion. Okay, because if you're being prudent, you really want to avoid earnings. Okay, so you really don't want to put on anything new in an extravagant way. You want to form some sort of watch list. Okay, what names, for example, myself, let's say, I'm a flow guy. What names caught a ton of flow that just got out of control to the upside and are now getting hit? That would be a space I would be looking for new flow to come in. Okay, so that's the position swing trading type outlook, which most of you have. If you're an aggressive trader, like myself, like Lucci, like a lot of guys in the room, where you can be in and out, and that's all you're looking to do. You don't care how quick the money comes. You want it quick, and you're getting the hell out. This is a good time. This is a good time. Okay? Because aside from Friday really was just all-out sell mode. There still was, for me, I'm a long-only player. I still played a couple things. Okay? And that was all-out, literally sell mode with put sweepers having the ball. Okay? That was day one where put sweepers just took over the tape. We haven't seen something like that in months. Let me move this out of the way because I can't see it. There we go. So this is what it looked like in the heart of the day, with some red in between that set up some opportunities. Let me get back to the morning here. This is the morning? Yeah. Okay, so you get a little burst of red, and then some green comes into the weakness. So now if you're an active trader, these are spots you're looking intraday for an entry and that day trade. The difference is the ranges are bigger, so it's not necessarily always going to be a scalp. It's going to be a decent move you catch. Okay, not all of them work out. You got to protect your downside. You got to have some sort of exit plan if the market continues to sell. I'll give you an example. This one worked out nice early on. There was one I got caught in and had to stop myself out because the rally wasn't too strong. It was later in the day. I think it was here, where some bullish activity came in, but then the rally failed and there was some put buying, as you can see, sprinkled in. All right. But even more so, we're in earnings season. Okay. So the problem with earnings season, so you guys know, this is a good example of why I could tell you earnings are a pain in the neck. Let's say you see this like Sear red here. Okay. VXX. That's the only green right here. VXX, Sear red. Like for me, I don't want to be long anything when that's going on. Okay, when I see the board like that and put sweepers aggressively have the ball, I'm not looking to do anything on the long side. I'm looking for that flow to turn. All right. The problem is during earnings season, you'll get some earnings names pop up like this one, let's say SMTC. But even, if bigger names are reporting, you get bigger names. And it's kind of like misleading. That's the problem for me during earnings season. See, if it wasn't earnings season and the board is lit up all red, and I see a couple of decent looking call sweepers come in, that's my cue to get long for a trade. Okay, but earnings throws a monkey wrench into it because, again, this is a little lesser known name, SMTC, and but NWL had decent amount of buying Friday, but they got earnings coming up. So you don't know if it's real buying or not, is my point. All right, but when that gets out of the way, there'll be a clearer picture. All right, so that's on an intraday time frame as far as even if you're not a day trader, but you can utilize these ranges on an intraday basis. We're seeing some volatility out there. That's a good thing. You didn't have that. Like I mentioned, Lucci couldn't stand this market because during the whole melt-up mode, there was no volatility. There was no move. Stocks gapped up a little, they faded a tiny bit, and they stood there the rest of the day. But listen, again, it has to suit you. But there is a style for everybody out there, no matter what, whether it has you doing something or not. There is a style and a way to go about it for every type of trader. For every type of trader. If you're a swing trader right now, again, all flow. For those of you who are members out there, all flow, you're looking to be extremely selective. You want to focus on the best of action, and you want it to be, without a doubt, post earnings flow. And hopefully we'll start seeing more of that in another week. Okay, and there's a good possibility whatever name that is has come in with the market like this. So that would be the swing trading position strategy. Okay, if you're a shorter term swing trader, okay, not necessarily a day trader, you're not looking to hold a couple of months per se, you're looking for that quick trade. Now also is a good time for that. How? You're looking to buy weakness. Remember that word weakness? Remember the color red? It was non-existent. If that was your thing, you like to buy things that were selling off and then they caught flow for a quick trade, you had hardly any opportunities in this melt up. Because we were up every day. Like I said, people were climbing the ladder on things. Paying higher and higher and higher for a trade. Now, Monday morning, you get some weakness. We get a follow through, sell off, gap down in the morning. Momentum takes us lower, right? All of a sudden, we walk in this, put sweepers right at the opening bell, and then boom, you get some aggressive call buying coming in. It's in a name you like. You're buying it off a pull. And you're looking to sell that bounce in a couple of days, if that's your style. You know what I mean? So this type of market opens up a lot of different opportunities. You just have to wait for your opportunity. But if you're an intraday trader and you were banging your head up against the wall because it was tough. There were a lot of days, me as a day trader, where, I made peanuts. I lost peanuts. There were so many days like that. They were just a waste of time. I was just looking to entertain myself. Then I get lucky, catch one that caught a rumor and made some decent money. Well, now if we get some volatility and some intraday weakness, I don't necessarily have to get lucky and catch a rumor. The flow sticks out. There's an edge there. I have an edge off the flow. We're right in. So without trying to predict what the market's going to do, which is a big waste of time, there are different ways to play now that we've had a pull. Okay? Now that we've had a pull, there are different ways to play. All right? And I'll take some questions from you guys on names, or flow and stuff to look at. But I would stress you have to focus on post-earnings stuff. I know the earnings is enticing. I know you want to catch a Netflix or an Amazon, or a data. But you're rolling the dice. You're rolling the dice. And that's okay if you're looking to roll the dice. But just understand you're rolling the dice there. All right. As far as Friday is concerned, I mentioned put sweepers predominantly had the ball all day. Okay. There was some ETF action on both sides. Could have been rolling out some weeklies on both sides, right? Friday, weeklies expire, and they push them out to next week. There was some VXX buying throughout the day. And that's another thing. There are a lot of people in the room who like to trade those products on an intraday basis. You couldn't even look at those things on the long side. You couldn't even look at those things prior to, last week. And, VXX catches some flow. Here's the intraday on the left here. VXX catches some flow. You see put sweepers grab the ball. And if that's something that interests you, you had a trade there. And it was pretty clear VXX, they were buying that thing as opposed to buying puts, prior. This guy, million, and again, the market, the overall market, you could get a feel for it and say, oh, well, I didn't need flow but it almost confirms that. Like Lucci likes to say, he's looking to short something in the morning, but he feels so much better when he sees put sweepers there. As opposed to if he's looking to short something and you're seeing them go on the other side, sweeping calls, right? You want to try to avoid that. Even if it means you may have missed an opportunity, odds are you want to stay away from that. If you can take out the periods of times where call sweepers are involved, I'm sure your success rate, as far as on an intraday basis, on the short side is going to go up drastically. So that's one thing for sure. When there's volatility, the board's a good measure of, and you hear me use this M word a lot when it comes to sweeper activity, momentum. When put sweepers have the ball, the downward pressure, the momentum's to the downside. You see the flow start to turn, call sweepers grab the ball. That momentum shifting on an intraday basis. And I tell you, more and more in the room too, I see, mostly from people who have been there for a bit, but like I see people who are short and then they see some call sweeper activity come in. And before it even comes out of my mouth, they're covering that short, locking in that game. That makes me feel good because that was something I was ready to spit out. If you're short, be careful. And those are the things that flow, can provide you an edge on the intraday basis. Momentum is huge. And an example of that, again, we had earnings activity on a lot of earnings positioning on Friday. I think there were two situations that I got involved in. One worked out nicely. The other one was late in the day. I got stopped out. There might have been another one that I didn't participate in, but it's right around here. So that was right around 12 o'clock. You can see how the board all of a sudden just lit up green there. And look, if you look to the right, this is nothing. You know what I mean? Mostly weeklies expiring that day. So that's what they're used for. Momentum. Let me see something here. Ooh, look at that day. This is a 5 minute, by the way. So you can see here's where you had this bar here, and then flow started to come in here. A 1 minute would show you a little bit better because they'll spread it out, but this is a 5 minute. So 12 o'clock, the flow starts to turn. And this is what you're looking for. Now you could be saying, oh, Jesus Christ, that's it? I know you probably want a rally from extreme red to Dow up 300. But that's not, that's not reality. This is what you want. Then raise the stop, do what you need to do, or you could even see the flow turn over again. Lock in your profit and move out of the way if you're, like myself, a long-only player. I think this was, let me see here. I'll show you where I kind of got, here's where I got caught. I was looking for, and I probably should have took this, but I was looking for a little more than this, and I ended up stopping myself out. So got the little bump where the flow came in. but then they ran them over. Okay, but you got to understand too, Friday was everybody in all out sell mode, right? That was the first day of selling that we've seen in a long time. And as the selling snowballed, there was more and more selling pressure throughout the day. They were selling every little rally there. So, but this is where I got stopped out because I was looking for a little more. And earlier on, I caught a nicer trade. Doesn't look like that much more on a 5-minute, but it felt like a lot more anyway. This one here. Win. There was a weekly sweeper in Win. So weekly sweeper came into this, and you got this push. And then again, rolled over. But that's a trade there. You know what I mean? That's a trade there. If you're a day trader, this is the stuff you're looking for. Now, how do you catch those big winners, right? Those red to green runners? For me, the only way I do that is if I if I trail a stop type thing. That's the only way. Otherwise, like for example, let's say I play the win and I'm in this, but I take the profit here, okay? And win and the market continues higher. There are other things they're probably sweeping on the call side if momentum's strong. So a lot of times I'm participating in another name that I may catch a bigger move on. So those are examples. All right. And by the way, the win, just in case if you're wondering, they were weeklies that expire Friday. Done. Wasn't some missile. Wasn't anything like that. I'll show you the order. Can I do it like this? Let me see. And little. So you had a small weekly bull sweeper that expires that day. If this was anything besides that day, a lot of us probably don't even look at it. But he was looking for a move that day, and that came at 11:56. And if you remember, 11:56, remember I was showing you on the board? That's where the whole flow started turning. So that was right over here. This is a 5-minute. Okay, so this candle, and yeah, that's the move. All right, so quickly, let me just go into, because I can pretty much brush through it really quickly, and then I'll take some of your questions. And you can see here, a lot of Friday was a day. Like these days, when you see days like Friday, it's either flash crash Monday morning, or if there's just some normal selling pressure, they buy it up. Usually. Friday was a big, big day in short-term sentiment across the board. Now, intermediate sentiment and stuff like that, a little bit different. I'll show you that in a second. Let me go to that. They didn't update the chart, but one chart I look at that you guys have seen me post a lot, both on Twitter and in the room. They didn't update it yet for the weekend. This was going into Friday. You guys seen this chart, right? I post it all the time. Okay. The reason I look at this, not just for the NASDAQ per se, even though it's a NASDAQ sentiment read, in this type of market, it's a good read on the riffraff because these are the type of names they like to play. Okay. And when you see something like this, with this type of acceleration, you know it's coming. It's just a matter of when. You know it's coming. You know, it's almost like when Bitcoin was up at 17, 18,000. Okay, there may be some more juice to the upside, but you know what's coming. The whole riffraff world's not getting rich. Trust me. Can you just take a step back and think about that for a second? All the riffraff are going to score off Bitcoin? Really? Is that really going to happen? And me with 20 plus year experience, I'm going to be sitting here watching the whole riffraff world just what? Start buying yachts off Bitcoin? It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You know, there are people trading it out there. You're trading it. There's nothing wrong with that. Trade anything. Trade baseball cards. You're a trader. But you had a lot of riffraff out there that was saying, I'm never selling Bitcoin. I would buy more here at 19,000. It's going to 600,000. You know, it's tempting, but it's just not realistic. You know, and when you see things like this, it's similar. You know, they're going to shake the tree. The pros that see this, they're going to sell to the riffraff. That's the way the game works. Remember we were talking about the inflows that started coming in all of a sudden? Nobody wanted to have anything to do with this market forever. All of a sudden, right, there were outflows galore in ETF land. All of a sudden, inflows for the last 2 weeks. Now, it doesn't mean the bull market's over. It just means they can shake the tree. For us who look at that stuff, it means lighten up. Start paying attention to your risk rather than the money that you're going to make from here. Stop focusing on the money you're going to make. Start paying attention to what you have at risk when they do shake that tree. That's what this means. So I'm curious to see where this thing ends up off a day like Friday, because a lot of the other sentiment stuff I saw really came in. So I don't know. Throw some guesses out there. What do you guys think? So basically, the zero line is neutral, but neutral is bearish in my eyes. If you're neutral, you're not bullish, okay? So even at zero, I'm feeling pretty bullish because they're not. When you get under zero, that's where and when there's opportunity. So where do you think, going into Friday, we close 4,500. Place your bets, and then I'll post this on Twitter. Where do you think this thing ended up at the close? Let me get some, let me look at what you guys are posting here. Place your bets. Jim is saying 2,000. Okay. So you're half the move retrace, 1,500, 1,000. Wow. So you think that much got washed out? Negative 200. I wish. That would be huge. That would be huge. 2,700. Yeah, I was kind of thinking around there too. I hope it's something at least that. 3,500 up here. Wow, so right. So we got as low as, well, I think Saj trying to be cute, minus 200, but maybe not. We got as low as minus 200, and the high one was 3,250. Oh, 3,500 by Mike. But I'll show this. I'll post this. Hopefully they update it. It should be today or tomorrow, and I'll post it. Steven saying, look at that October wash. Which October wash? This one here? Oh, from here to here. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, that was Oh no, 17. 17. This? Oh, this he's talking about. The last one. The last one. Yeah. If you guys remember, yeah, this was such a both these, all these, all these recent ones were incredible opportunities. Obviously, you know, you can see this one got a little frisky, right? Higher reading than we've seen throughout, and this one was just insane. Like I thought this was a misprint when I saw it, but it scared the living poop out of me. Look at that acceleration, though. You know what I mean? Like this is whoop, not a doubt in their mind. So again, when you see that, doesn't mean crash. It just means they're going to shake the tree. But we've all been talking about that, right? I'm not any smarter than anybody else. You guys have been saying the same thing. Right. Yeah, it doesn't take much, Stephen. It doesn't take much because you got to understand a lot of the traders that are trading and are involved up at these levels, they don't like down days, they don't exist for them. So it feels even worse. They're not used to these down days. You know, like some of us who have been around the block, you know, we've seen, I mean, all out blood out there. If you traded again through 2008, this is a can of corn. You know, anything we've been seeing is a can of corn. You're talking about annihilation. But anybody who's been trading, you know, over the last year or so, and here's the thing, they've been making money, right? They've been making money. They feel more confident. Like I said earlier, they think they have a style that works. Oh, I finally got there. I'm a profitable trader. No. Relax. Relax yourself. Relax yourself. You know, this is melt up mode. When it's not melt up mode, let's see talk to me then. Like I said, if you're telling me you're on the sidelines when the trend gets broken and stuff like that, then you're on the right path if that's your style. But if you're telling me the same thing you did in melt up mode, you're going to do now, it's only a matter of time before you get your ass handed to you. No, this thing updates every day, just on the weekend sometimes. They take a couple days. So no, this is that's not for the week. You know, that was for the week. No. But you know, there was a little drift higher. I think I don't know, maybe the past 2 weeks or so. I think it was right after the Netflix earnings. This thing just went parabolic. Yeah, and John saying I found one style that works. Market changing, without a doubt. There's different market environments. I wish it was all the same. You know, it's not. Like especially if you're trading positions. You know, again, just think of it logically. You can't have the same approach that you have, let's say, last week for your whole career. It just realistically, it doesn't make sense. You know, there's bear markets, there's bull markets, there's melt ups, there's, you know, all out selling, there's chop. And you don't necessarily need a style for each and every environment per se, but one of those styles have to be sit and do nothing if that's the case. You understand? If you're in a choppy environment, consolidation, and that's not something your style can find success in, then you have to be able to sit and wait. You can't just trade the same way and, as they say, get chopped up. You know? And if you're a long only player, like again, for me, I'm a day trader, so it's a little bit easier, right? You can day trade during the day. pretty much in every environment, but that's not wholly true, because if put sweepers, and we went through several periods of time before this bull market took off, if we have days where the board is all red, this is what I mean by the board here. If we have periods of time where the board's all red, I'm not going and getting long, even for a day trade. They can squeeze them and rally them without me. So that changes my style. And, a couple of years ago, there were several times like that. Several times where I had to sit on my hands and do nothing. Or maybe I wait for the flow to change, to flip in one period a day, and that was my opportunity, and that's it. So even as a day trader where there's, pretty much you can day trade throughout the market, is basically more opportunity per se. Still, even for me, it's every day's not the same. Or markets, even worse, markets gap up. I can't do a thing there. I feel like I'm handcuffed when you get a big gap up in the market. Even when there's bullish flow, I can't do anything. So you got to know where your sweet spot is. You got to be selective, wait for things to set up, wait for the opportunity, and then fire, and try not to force things. I mean, that's the name of the game. That's the name of the game. All right, let's look at just quickly some of the action Friday, because there's not much on the call side. And to be honest, guys, the puts, okay, I don't talk about puts as it is in bull markets. You had VXX buying, okay? You had protection, and again, one of the rare days where they were just buying short-term protection on pretty much everything. Okay, but that's normal in a tape like Friday. All right, but you had a lot of shorter-term protection, and then you had earnings protection. Names with earnings seeing put buying. All right, so that was the put action. It was visible, it was out there, and very noticeable Friday. On the call side, here's the action that really got my attention. Okay, ERJ. This one, there's some news around it that Boeing was looking to make a bid. Okay, there was a good-looking April sweeper about a week ago. And then this guy comes in with some time, July, pretty good-looking sweep. You can see multiple exchanges above the ask, decent dollar amount for this name. Now, interesting, what happened after this guy swept, I heard that the company made a statement that Boeing didn't even approach them yet. The stock sold off a bit and then bounced back. But, the market weighed on it too. Hold on a second. The market weighed on it, obviously, too, on Friday. So you couldn't see really if there was going to be a reaction or not. Let me get to, but they're July, so take that into account. What is this? This is here, let me pull up the daily chart so you guys can see. All right, so here was the Boeing bid, rumor, I think it was. I don't think it was a bid, rumor. There was some block trading in between all this. Then you had a sweeper one of these days here, about a week ago, April, and then this July guy, Friday. Okay, so there's rumors out there. I'd rather there not be rumors out there. You guys know that. The stock's already moved a bit, but there's some real buying in there. Okay, and on Friday, that stood out like a sore thumb because there was not real buying anywhere. A lot of just trading call flow on Friday. So that's the ERJ, July's. Here you have Schlumberger. This looks interesting. The September 75 calls lays really nice wood. Was a sweep, opened a new position, hefty, right? 540. And we know this. You guys probably know if you've been on this webinar. Here's the backstory on Schlumberger. They hit the lows. Remember? They came aggressively into the lows here, and further out in time. Then oils got hot. This thing exploded with a lot of the other energy plays. Okay. There's been flow throughout. Now you got this little pull. Okay. On Thursday, there was nice action there. And then they came back on Friday with that September order. Okay. And honestly, something like this, I think you have to approach it with time. I think a lot of this stuff right now, you have to approach with time. Okay. Because they may be early, and they probably acknowledge that. They may be early, but they still feel this is a spot they want to start to get aggressive on with time. Okay, so again, Schlumberger, quite a few of you in the room had it down here for a trade, sold it way too early, story of our lives, went higher, and you really never had another entry in it. This is that secondary spot where you start looking at the name. Okay, so if you're bullish oil, second half of the year, remember all that bullish stuff that came out in energy, it got a little too bullish. Now you've had a pull, you got some pressure, you're hearing some bearish talk around crude and some of the stuff out there, but these things could be the stuff that comes out of this pull, possibly. All right. So something to look at anyway. That's what we were looking for on Friday. And then there was some retail action, which I'm a little skeptical of. Not all of it was earnings related, but I don't know same store sales, who has earnings, all that stuff going on. Okay. But there was some retail, flow in retail. Macy's, which if you don't want to buy Macy's, I can't blame you. There were a couple of half decent orders there. Again, move off the lows, tops out, you get a pullback here and some buying, some sweeper activity there. And the other one, this LB's Victoria's Secret, which had some decent action. It didn't make a dent. I actually tried day trading this early on and got stopped out because the action, the volume was pretty decent. But I think somebody told me same store sales, possibly. I don't know. You guys probably know better than me. All right. But here's the LB action. There was some decent volume in that LB. Right here, Feb 50s, they were sweeping. See this one right at the open, 938, 1900, Feb 50s. And then there was volume throughout the day. That's why I took a shot throughout the morning, pretty much. I took a shot on the day trade. It looked like it was trying to gather some momentum, but the market pressure was just too much. Too much. So that's it. That's it. You had a couple other things that were earnings related that had some decent action. NWL. This is a couple days of action here in this NWL. So you can see getting a little lift off that gap down. Friday, steady action and nice relative strength throughout the whole day amidst the selling pressure everywhere. The problem is they have earnings coming up, I think 214, 215. So one, the action could be earnings related. Two, you got to navigate earnings around earnings. So that's the problem there. You could take that approach where you try to get a trade off it prior to earnings and then maybe leave a piece. Is it worth it even now? I took that approach and I got caught with my Junes in this thing. Look at this thing. Got rocked off earnings Friday. So I took this approach. I wasn't going to hold stock through earnings. I had a little stock, traded it, made a little bit of profit off the little push higher. Then I have some June calls, nothing crazy, and that's why I held through earnings. But now, that pretty much got hit over the head. The spot was awful on this thing. If you guys remember, the sweeper was nice. It was a good looking sweeper up here, June. Like I said, a little move. And then earnings, they just killed all these things off earnings, all of them. So we'll see. This could even set up again. You know what I mean? This thing bottoms out here and they come and hit it again. Earnings behind her. This could definitely set up again. Now, what I'm hoping for and why I held the June calls through earnings, one, I'm willing to risk what I put into those calls. So that was the number one priority before making that decision. And two, when I see sharp sweeps like that, even if the spot is awful, they find a way to get the job done. AKA EA. Okay. The spot wasn't awful. It looked like crap. The news was awful, if you remember. Remember Star Wars? Oh my God, the game, they're not going to buy it, whatever that case may be. They actually got run over initially. I mean, these were underwater significantly. And they kept buying, and then she found a way to get the job done. It may be a little bit different with that FBHS if the market's not cooperating, but they do. MSI, I don't know if you guys remember this, but there was a sharp-looking sweep in a name that never sees any action at an awful spot. I think it came right, where was it? Up here somewhere. Okay, so, I'd rather it off a pull. This thing came in off a run somewhere up here. Was underwater, was a good 4 points off the entry on the stock. And then now I look, she's up here all of a sudden. So that's why I took a shot with the FBHS holding through a piece of those June calls. So something to watch going forward on that thing. If they come back, especially, like they did the EA. Remember, they kept coming. They kept coming on that EA. All right, so that's it, right? That's all the action on, I think, on Friday. Those are the four. NWL pre-earnings. Oh, here's one more, too. Pre-earnings, pretty much an under-the-radar name. SMTC. This is a semi-name. Some unusual activity. I wouldn't call it anything aggressive. Again, in Friday's tape, stood out a bit because there was not a lot of clean call activity. Caught some action into Friday's weakness. This is a semi. Did I mention that? All right, let me get to a couple of questions. If you have any questions, again, strategy, flow, names, anything that's on your mind, plan going forward, this is the place to ask, and we'll try to get through it together. All right, Jim is saying SGMS. Where did she end up? SGMS had a little pop off the lows there, and then Friday took her south, like a lot of the other things right here. So there was some decent buying with time out there in this SGMS, but you have earnings there, Jim. You still got earnings coming up. That's the problem there. Yeah. So, I mean, you got to wait for that, in my opinion. You got to, you risk a big reaction, but it is what it is. This IGT was starting to look really good. And then, the sell-off came. You have some time till earnings there. Sheesh, what a slow breakout on this IGT, man. Just grinding and grinding and grinding. But in the same sector as that other one. Maria DB saw some action. Nothing really that excites me, but did see some call activity, a lot of block activity. I think they had earnings, so it was off of earnings. But again, I don't get too excited about the action in that name. There was one time there was some really aggressive sweeper activity that was worthy of a swing trade, but other than that, I don't get too excited about this DB. What else we got? Yeah. And Maria, you know what is being earnings season and there's a lot of reaction like this. I just think there's better looking stuff out there. If we're patient enough, there's better looking stuff out there. And listen, don't let me talk you out of a trade. I'm just giving you my opinion on the name more than anything else. What other names we got here? Celgene and PayPal. Well, PayPal is a name they annihilated. I mean, PayPal was seeing, did I write the weird symbol there? PayPal was seeing sweeper activity after sweeper activity throughout every push higher, even the pullbacks. If you remember this pullback, they never stopped sweeping. There was some further out buying in PayPal. I think it was Jans into the Friday weakness. Some Jans. So you got earnings out of the way is a good thing. And here's the ideal scenario, okay? The ideal scenario is for some selling, they bounce around, they go quiet, and then you get a batch or the order. One order that really sticks out that says, okay, now it's time to pull the trigger. Okay? If the flow looks the same, it's just for me, it doesn't really tell me much. If the flow looks the same in PayPal throughout, and listen, that's what happened here. Like PayPal, they bought it, went lower, bought it, and then went right to new highs. So there is a trade there. But for me, I would like this thing to go quiet, hang around here a little bit, and then you get one or a batch of orders that say, all right, this thing is in play again. Okay, so, this thing just pulled back. There's some Jan flow, and we'll see what happens there. But yeah, the name's been bullish throughout. NetEase, there was a sweeper in NetEase. You have earnings. There was actually a half decent looking sweep in NetEase. But technically an earnings play. So, that's the problem. I know you hate to hear it. Trust me, nobody hates it more than me. But there's a reason why I say this every quarter. Those of you who know me over the years know I say this every single earnings season. You probably want to punch me in the head because it gets repetitive and annoying. But there's a big difference between earnings flow and clean flow. Big difference. And I think I went over the reason several times. Okay, if you're not aware of it, I could explain it again. But there's it's logical, it's realistic. All right, and just very quickly. So I know a lot of you heard it. We don't know. Okay, you see this NetEase or any of these bets, unless you know this guy personally, unless you know this player personally, we have no idea what their true intent is. No idea, right? We have no idea what this player is trying to achieve by placing this order. He could be short. He could be protecting against a short, right? He could be doing God knows what. But we're never going to know the true intent, okay? So get that out of your head. So what we want to do is we want to really narrow it down to the action that we have a better read on. We're never going to know for sure, but we have a better read on, okay? So when there's a batch of sharp sweepers, sharp activity, good-looking activity, more than one order, okay? There's a good possibility that he's betting on a direction, okay? Higher odds that he's betting on direction, okay? So for earnings or any event, FDA, panels, anything, we know the odds of hedging protection, stock replacement go up drastically. The most amount of hedging, protecting, and replacing is done around events, earnings, FDA, all that stuff, analyst meetings. So you want to avoid, if you can avoid those periods of time, think about how you narrow down the flow to some of the cleaner activity. Okay, so again, this game is an odds and probability game. That's all it is. If we know that a lot of hedging and protecting, the odds go up drastically around events, then you stay away from flow around events. So that batch of flow you're focusing on, you have a higher probability of being on the right side of the smart money there. It's that simple. That's simple. I don't know this NetEase guy any better than you do. This could be a clean bet for all I know. But I know around earnings, I've seen a lot of these bets be held through earnings and a total crapshoot. In other words, if this bet came outside of earnings, okay, didn't come a week or two prior to earnings, I have high confidence in this bet. High confidence in this bet. As opposed to the total opposite now. So that's what it comes down to. That's what it comes down to. And earnings are earnings. If you played every single one of these bets that look like this into earnings, I'll be the first to tell you, I think you will be a net winner. Okay? If you played every bet that looked like this and held through earnings, I think you can make money. The problem is you're not going to play every single one. You're not going to manage your risk properly, right? You're not going to play them all equally. You're going to play the one you like more than the other. So it becomes a total crapshoot. Total crapshoot. You're relying on luck more than anything else. So why play the NetEase earnings bet if you're not going to play the other earnings bets? It doesn't make sense to me. That's my rationale. Okay, so this is a good-looking sweep, but again, it catches earnings. Okay, this guy without earnings, this would have let off the webinar. What are the names we got here? AMT. I think I saw some activity in AMT, but nothing that might have stuck in my head. Why? Did you see any action in this AMT? This is that tower play, right? Technically a REIT. Is it a REIT? Yeah, it says REIT here. Yeah, this is the play on towers. I remember it because long time ago there was a nice looking sweep. I'm talking about a couple of years ago now, though. But I haven't seen anything since then. Look at this, you start picking up. I'll take a peek at it, Jerry. I remember seeing some action there. I'm trying to think now. I could pull up the thing now, but are you on Twitter, Jerry? I'll post if I see anything there. I'll take a peek. I definitely remember seeing something. So keep a lookout. I'll post it on Twitter what I saw there. All right, perfect, Jerry. Hey, now because you got me curious too. I remember seeing something there. Do they have earnings? Is there earnings there, Jerry? Because if it's earnings, I can tell you right now, it's probably useless because this name doesn't catch much action. If it catches earnings, it's pretty much useless. And that's the other thing. Names, yeah, it's probably earnings positioning. That's another thing, guys. Names that I never see action. I've been doing this a long time. Names I never see flowing, all of a sudden catch a big block around earnings. Every earnings like clockwork. You know what I mean? They'll never, ever catch any flow outside of earnings. But every earnings season, put it in your calendar. You'll see action. So, you know that that's going on. You know what I mean? From my experience, I know that's going on. Earnings is 227 on this AMT. Maria saying 227, Jerry. Thank you, Maria. 227. So again, if there's action and it doesn't catch earnings, it may be worth a look. Here's another thing, okay? And I don't like to get too technical with you guys because I don't want to, make you dizzy, and I don't want you to think I'm, some clever options aficionado, because I'm not. Okay, but another thing around earnings, and you guys probably understand this, even though that name may not have earnings, right? A person in the group may have earnings, right? So a competitor, when now? So a person in the group may have earnings. Okay, so I'll give you an example. There's flow in a retail name. They don't report, but there's big earnings coming out on another retail name that is in the same exact sector. And that's where you see the flow. That's another way around earnings. So trust me. If you said, Jesus, just tell me exactly what I need to do in flow and cut down some of the garbage, stay away. Earnings season, just take it with a grain of salt. Be patient, wait, because post earnings is just the opposite. Some of the most important action comes post earnings. Earnings, again, that's why I complain about it a lot. Maria saying, Sandy, I'm sorry, Tesla, Priceline. Those are two names. Well, Priceline, very rare, catches activity. When Priceline catches activity, it's a must-fire type name because it rarely catches activity. I haven't seen anything in Priceline in probably several months now, Sandy. Tesla has been mostly the trade type flow. What I mean by that, weekly stuff, small stuff, trading type stuff. Once in a while, Tesla will catch real action. But again, best bet, wait till after earnings. I know there's about 50% of you who don't want to hear it, okay? But if I can save 10% of that 50% money and aggravation from this, then I feel like I completed my mission. I know you guys like earnings. I know you do. I get it. Okay. But yeah, Tesla, I would wait to post earnings on that no matter what. What other name? AMD. Yeah, AMD was interesting. A lot of these things saw flow prior to the end of the week. You had some of the semi names, AMD. You have earnings in the group. But again, you have a ton of semi earnings still out there. A ton. Like even Micron looks appetizing. It really does. It looks appetizing. Why? I like this consolidation. But there hasn't been the Tepper missile, as we like to call it, that big order. Micron could catch big action. It just hasn't been there. There's been April buying, some spec action in weekly stuff and stuff like that. Micron catches a lot of flow. What you want to see, if you follow me on Twitter, that missile sweeper in Micron to give us a heads up that Tepper or whatever big guy is accumulating is going to start buying this thing. But again, you have a lot of semi names still to report, and your best bet is to wait, and you may get a gift. I remember a lot of questions on this TXN. I remember a lot of people asking about this TXN. You got a pullback off earnings there. That's good. So now you should start paying attention to any flow. That there hasn't been any, but if there's a decent looking sweeper that comes into this Texas Instrument at some point, it may be down here, it may be chopping around and it comes over here, whatever the case may be, whoever was looking at that name should start now to pay attention, as opposed to up throughout this move, because the inevitable was this was coming. And you see, this usually wipes out A lot of this grind. That's why I hate chasing. Here's why. Okay. Let's say you bought Texas Instruments here. If you didn't sell this, and a lot of you swing traders are looking for more than that a lot of times, okay, what's the risk of this happening before another leg like this higher? And that the risk goes up dramatically when you're coming at the tail end of this move. That's why I don't like chasing. I'd rather wait for this. Even if I'm wrong, I'd rather buy this than buy up here. That this got out of the way. You know, look, this sick run. But you can see, even here, a little tidy pause. You're better off. Let some sellers come in, let them wash out some bulls, and then you could start looking again. But it's funny because I used to get questions every webinar about this name for the last couple of weeks, and now no questions. Why? Because it's not going up every day anymore. David's talking Intel. Same thing, David. You got a lot of earnings in the group. See, like I should have used semis instead of retail. There's a lot of names out there, like an Intel, that will move off big earnings in the group. You know, look at like AMAT. Okay, AMAT has had decent flow, guys. This thing got totally run over. Like AMAT was seeing decent flow. You know what I mean? So you can't, in other words, you can't weigh AMAT separately when you have a bunch of semiconductor earnings coming. You know, I'm talking about, again, a position swing. You can trade all day long in and out. It doesn't matter. I'm talking about taking a position. How can you take a position in AMAT here? They have earnings coming, right? I think it's coming up now in a week or two. And, you know, you had Intel, AMD, all these semis who are releasing earnings. Let all that get out of the way. And then you could start looking at these names if you're looking for clean activity there. Be patient. Be patient. You know, I know if you're sitting on cash, you felt like you did the right thing and you're chomping at the bit here. Okay. If, again, David, I don't know, like if you're probably talking a position more than just a quick trade. I would be patient, wait, get rid of these earnings, and then let's see if they come after these semis. Because remember, I don't know if you guys remember the put buying that we saw in SMH? Like they were worried about a sell off the earnings move. They were protecting against that. They were concerned about that. For good reason. For good reason. All these things have been monsters. But, you know, you got to take that into consideration. SMH, they huge put buying. I wouldn't short it off that, but I would stay away from semis on the long side till after earnings season off that, without a doubt. Without a doubt. You know, especially if that name has to report, you know, again, unless you're looking quick trade. If you're saying, all right, if I see some AMAT flow come in Monday morning and I'm looking for to flip the quick bounce, that's a different story, you know? But David, I'm sure that's not what you're looking for, right? You're talking about you want a move probably to new highs over a couple months, right? Is that what you're looking for? Yeah. So be patient. Be patient. And when they buy these things, David, they buy the whole damn group. You know what I mean? All the flow looks identical when they're buying these things. You know, they're not bombing as semiconductor ETF puts. They're just aggressively buying the living daylights out of everything. So just be patient, and you're looking at the right stuff. Let these things set up. What else we got? Click. That's a semi. I think. Right? Oh no. I'm thinking. Yeah, this is a semi, isn't it? Click is a semi. I don't know if they reported yet. Yeah, it's a semi. So again, nice selling there, coming in, right? It's corrected nicely. But I would be patient. I haven't seen any flow there yet. There might have been a block or something that catches earnings. Maybe that's why you're mentioning it. But I would wait till after earnings. Yeah, EXP is an interesting name, Stephen. There's an interesting name. That's something like we were talking about this last week. So EXP was a name in a hot group. Okay. Into this selling, huge selling, they pretty much nailed the lows on that move. There was a $2 million sweeper, stood out like a sore thumb. Clean as a whistle, post earnings, stood out like a sore thumb. The thing was, is July's. And you see how all the action that's clean is with time. And I think that's why you're seeing in some of the early buying out there, you're seeing a lot of time behind it for that reason. Because his thinking is he may be early, but on this type of day, he wants to start getting aggressive. So again, you see that you could play it two different ways. You look for an entry there. If you're on the option side, you're out to July. Okay, you had a short-term trade. A lot of us day traded it. I mean, it was. I think these options doubled the next day, to be honest. But it was quite the move off the lows. It was a nice day trade, a nice 2-day swing trade. Friday weakness again. So if you missed that, you could look for an entry around here. Okay, but this is an example of what you're looking for. Post earnings, weakness, and an aggressive bet with some time behind it. Yeah, this is materials play. And look, strong name. And there's been pullbacks. There's pullbacks. You know what I mean? There's pullbacks along the way. So the thing is time. I think time is one of the, and that's another thing we've been talking about. Time will help you significantly, because if you're early, it's okay. If you're not looking for time, or you're trying to get cute and trying to catch a home run in 2 weeks out or front month, if you're early, you're going to have some trouble. Especially when you're buying weakness. EA is a good example, right? I keep going back to that because it was a good example of a rough trade. They're not always smooth. If you had time, you were able to recoup. Apple, nothing, what you would call it? Nothing really clean yet, but you've had earnings there. So same thing I would say for any of these names. Let them do what they have to do. There'll be trades in between. Okay, what I mean by that is if they're selling in Apple, let's say Monday morning, okay, the market opens up, Apple's up down another 80 cents. I'm throwing hypotheticals out there. Okay, all of a sudden we see some sweeper activity come into Apple. If you're interested, that's a trade there. Okay, a trade. Not new highs, not a whole new leg to $300. A bounce trade, which could be nice, right? You get a 3-4 point bounce in Apple or whatever the case may be. That's all you're looking for. But if you're looking for more than that, you have to let these things hang out a little bit and wait for real action to come in. And trust me, if they hang out, there will be a day where real action comes into these things. They haven't really, here's Apple the last time, you had this, okay, and there was smaller flow where you could have traded this thing. But the real action came in not anywhere here off this pull, and that's where they bombed it. They still have the circle up from that time. You understand? So similar, right? This may be a larger pullback, may be longer, but that's kind of what you want to see. Yeah. I mean, listen, the environment changed. I mean, Apple, all those names, they could have, the whole market, just the whole environment changed on Friday. Things that would have been up off earnings, they sold off earnings. That's another thing too to take into account when you're playing earnings. The environment, it means so much. If we're in an environment where they're selling everything off the news, I don't care how good your quarter is, there's a good chance they're going to sell it on the news. It's just the environment we're in. And then we'll be in environments where, companies will report and they'll go higher no matter what the hell they report. So that's a whole other intangible to throw into earnings plays. Who the hell wants to be bothered? Not me. NVIDIA caught a downgrade on Friday. NXPI, Dan Loeb wants shareholders to vote on the Qualcomm vote. Yeah, NXPI is one name that really caught me off guard. I think I mentioned it to you guys. They had that buyout, that takeover news, and then there was Flow, and I pretty much ignored it. I thought it was an arbitrage type play or something, And then, lo and behold, the stock started pushing higher, and then we got news of a higher bid and all that stuff. NXPI is still seeing Flow. Now, a lot of it's rolling out, a good chunk of it's rolling out, but this NXPI is still seeing Flow. I don't know what that means, but it's still seeing Flow. But it caught me completely off guard. I'll be the first to admit it. I ignored the action thinking, they caught a bid and that's it. Also, you got that VMW. That caught some action into this sell-off. You had some Jan call spreads. You had shorter duration sweeps. One in particular that I liked. A lot of us day traded it. Was a decent move. This thing was up 5 pre-market yesterday and ended up turning down. But a tradable pop, and we'll see where it goes from here. This with the Dell, that was the news around it with Dell. That's right. This thing, you had this huge pop here and then the sell-off on the Dell news. But there's been some buying here. So a name to keep an eye on. Yeah, there was one. There was March. There was a March sweep too. You're right. But hang on a second. There was one order in that. Where the hell am I? Oh, there was one order in VMware that I liked. You had some size call spreads in Jan, but there was one sweeper that I day traded off of. Let me see. Here are the call spreads in Jan. 140 by 185. Decent size too. Those are for Jan. This is it. Feb 23rd, 121 calls. 6:30. It caught it on, that was Thursday, I think. January 31st in the morning, 10:50. You can see, had a nice move. Let me put up an hourly, maybe. You'll show it better. Let's see. Look at that pop pre-market. Look at this. And then they just sold it. Crazy. Wait, was that it? No, I'm sorry. This is it. It's not. Oh, it's not showing the pre-market. My bad. I thought it was that. My bad. So here was the 31st. So this was the move that day off the sweeper activity. That sweeper had a nice move sideways, a little push highs again, and then just sort of flatlined. But seeing some action there, and that was the sweep, my favorite sweep of the bunch right there. Decent looking sweep. And you had the call spreads too. Looks like it caught another smaller one. Oh, here's the one here. Oh, those expired. Those are weeklies. Those were weeklies. That was the day before, too. All right. Any other names that look interesting? Any post earnings? Any post earnings stuff out there? I know there's not too much because a big chunk of it we just got through. Who did I miss? I'm so bad gathering up these questions. What do I think about BX? Yeah, Brent, this BX, both the BX and the KKR, I find interesting if they can breathe a bit, right? They both were hot. Let's see. Yeah, so BX you had a pull on Friday. The first one to get that got lit up was this KKR. They've been buying this thing, it seems like forever. Then the flow just really started to heat up. I think earnings are out of the way now. I think. I'm almost positive. So they were buying this, and then they just went right into the BX after they were buying that. So you have a lot of flow in these things. A lot of flow. Enough flow, Brent, that if you're looking for on a pullback, you see a pullback you like, you can probably fire. Yeah, the thing is like, yeah, you don't want to chase this run here. We were supposed to react down here if we were on our toes. But now, you see a little weakness here. With some time, probably a good play. There's a lot of flow in these things, Brent, as you know. This and the other one, KKR. I don't know if you like the BX better as far as a company or flow. I would say the KKR probably the better action of the two, most recent. But both have seen action. And both should be on a watch list, no doubt. Ton of flow there. Amazon. All right, what do you want me to say about this? This is my. You see that response I just had? That was my response for almost every single one of these things. Right? There's nothing I can tell you. The last good-looking Amazon sweeper was back here. Well, actually, there was one more at the start of the new year, but that was at higher levels. Amazon still seeing flow. Here is I'll give you probably want the action and don't care much about anything I have to say. Let's see if I can pull it up for you. October. Hold on, let me move this over so I can see. Oh, come on. Doesn't go back? I can pull it up in here. Hang on. Oops. You're not going to see the sweeper, but that was a while ago anyhow. Here's the Amazon flow. So on January 11th, this was a small earnings sweep. What was the high on Amazon? 1,500. This guy took a shot on the 1,700s for February. That was pre-earnings. Probably made money. This guy, look at this guy. The 1,500s. That was December. March 1,500s. He's going to cash. Unbelievable, Jim. Jim is saying there was a guy in March 1,500s in Amazon who bought in November for $465. Yep. Here's a guy in December. Look at this. December 19th, March 1,500s when the stock was $11.86. Incredible, man. Incredible. Yeah, so I don't, what's my opinion on Amazon? Does it matter? I don't know. Has had bullish action. The best sweep was late last year. And then I think it was January 1st, there was a good looking sweep in Amazon. Prior to that, some earnings flow and away she goes. I don't know what else to say. Ameritrade is post earnings now. Yeah, these things, I know the E-Trade caught a decent looking April sweep not that long ago. Ameritrade had some flow. There was some leap buying, some leaps in Ameritrade as well. Some small put action. I think that was earnings protection. Let me see on the board, Ameritrade. Oh. Here, all right, here, that's last year. So here's the new year. January 25th. I don't know if these were earnings plays or not, if they went into earnings. These February, Feb, nothing too exciting. This is a small sweep expired. Yeah, Schwab caught some action as well. These things have been hot. These things have been hot. I would probably wait for some sort of pull here if you can get it. You know, because of the markets being so hot, trading activity is ridiculous. So these things are the place to be. This had Jan 22nd earnings. Okay. So you had a little dip there and then right back to highs again, right? They're so strong, these things. Just a grind higher. You know, like the hotels, you see Marriott finally had a down day. Like, look at this chart. You want to look at a chart, look at Marriott. How do I blow this up? Hold on. Where's the thing to blow this up, damn it? Oh. Look at this. Look at this running there on Marriott. Is that ridiculous or what? Finally, right, Jim, finally, it has a dip. You know, where they bring this thing into, who knows? Now, I will say, after a move similar to this, post-election, this thing caught rocket after rocket after rocket post-election, had a huge move, and then finally did this. You see this little period here? So if you're looking to get long Marriott, you're hoping to see something like this. Something like this. To catch another leg. Otherwise, again, there could be trades in between where if you see some action come into weakness, you can trade it type thing. But for another leg higher from here and to feel comfortable about it, you have at the least something like this. This is a crazy move. I can't believe it when I see it. Estofio, what are you asking? Please, I didn't see your question. Oh, AT&T. Well, let me ask you a question. Supposedly, these are the things you don't want to own when interest rates are going higher, correct? If I'm not mistaken, isn't that the rationale? Similar to like utilities and stuff. So this has been holding up okay. Looks actually pretty decent. You know what I mean? Downtrend, downtrend, downtrend. It always catches big block activity. AT&T's tough off flow. Like you want to see some sweeper activity, you want it to stand out. You know, it's AT&T. You know, but again, you know, not that it matters. Price and flow trumps everything else. But like utilities, these things will get hit if interest rates creep higher. Now, utilities got annihilated, and they continue to get annihilated. I don't see much of any flow there. We saw one guy, remember in weeklies back here? We saw one guy in weeklies back here, but we never saw anything after that. So if you're looking, I forgot who asked. Brent, was that you about utilities we were talking about? What are you guys? We were talking about utilities being at a spot for a trade. And you want to see them get, because if it's an ETF, you want to see flow really get aggressive. And trust me, they will get aggressive. What I mean by aggressive, you'll see utility sweeper, utility sweeper, utility sweeper. Before you know it, they pile up 30,000 plus April calls. That's what you want to see here. You really want to see them buy this for to set up a decent trade. But again, this goes against rates climbing higher. This is the last place you want to be. But you're there sediment wise and you're washed out. So if the flow's there, it might set something up. Listen, nothing goes straight down. Okay. They're already factoring in the rate thing. It's obvious. This is it. Where it ends, that's the question. There will be a bounce of some sort here eventually. But right now I'm not seeing any flow convincing me that they were looking to step into this. Like I said, there was a weekly sweeper back here. Those expired, I think. Yeah, this TLT, we've been seeing put sweeper after put sweeper here. It's been out of control. Out of control. Now, again, we'll reach a point where they bounce it, but I'm not looking to catch any falling knife without any flow there, any convincing flow. So tough. And on the flip side, we've been seeing TBT call activity. So you could have got long the TBT off that. But now I wouldn't fool around up here with TBT. What else we got? Oh, TLT, I just looked at that. Food stocks. I haven't looked at them. What have they been doing? Wendy's has come in. Oh, yeah. Jesus Christ. I haven't seen this. Wait, is this Wendy's? This is not Wendy's. What the hell? Oh, yeah. It is. Hold on. It's not Wendy's. There's Wendy's. Oh, yeah. That's more like it. Yeah. So nice little pull there. I would, if you see them pop up again, who asked that? I don't know who asked that, but, Mike. Yeah, if you see them pop up there, that could be a good sign. Kind of looks like Schlumberger, that chart. She's a slow mover, Wendy's. Like, this was a nice move for that thing. Very similar to what we're seeing in some of the names now. We saw some action come into Wendy's. They were early, meaning this thing continued to sell, but they had a good amount of time and they continue to buy. That usually that's a nice setup. That's a nice setup. You could take your time. You can go out in time and you can even piece in. I'm horrible at that, but if you can piece into it, that's another strategy you can use with these things. And then when this happens, you're feeling good about yourself. So yeah, this would be a secondary entry. Obviously not initial activity, but secondary entry on Wendy's. And you can either wait for flow to confirm, or if you're convinced off the initial flow, this is what you wanted to see rather than chasing the move. Did all the food stocks get hit, Mike? Was it all of them? Yeah, well, I know McDonald's, which has been an animal, finally pulling back a bit. Jack. Oh, QSR. We've seen some action in QSR, block action. Did they report QSR? QSR. What the hell am I doing? Oh. I don't know if these names report. They did? Yeah, so if they reported, definitely keep an eye on flow. I remember there was some QSR 212. I saw some block activity in this QSR, but it could be earnings related. So, again, Mike, you know me. I would wait till after earnings. Me, personally. Now, I know you're probably thinking maybe they sold off enough to where, they may not sell any more off earnings, but, that's up to you if you want to roll the dice there. I would wait. Yeah, the pull, definitely. The pull is nice. I would wait till post earnings, my opinion. And a lot of these things, you're looking for the bigger move. That's why you're buying the blood per se. So, you can be patient. Be patient, wait till after earnings, and see if they buy these things. That's what it is. It's so we got earnings all over the yard. Some of the big guys, the FANG names and all that are out of the way. But you still have a lot of earnings out there. A lot of earnings. But it's a good time for a watch list. Remember we were talking early in the webinar. There are times where your strategy means you shouldn't be doing too much. And right now, I think if you're a position trader, now is a time where your number one priority should be to be looking around for flow, post earnings, setups, stuff like that. That's what I would be focused on as a position trader right now. So like Mike likes these food names. That's perfect. Let them report, see if some flow comes in post earnings, and your homework's done. You're ready to go. You have your game plan intact. And like I said, any name that catches pre-earnings action, if the name is down post-earnings, if that was a real bet, they're going to come back again. They're going to come back again. Okay? It doesn't happen all the time, but all the good ones that catch pre-earnings action, if the stock does nothing or is weaker after earnings, all the good ones you see flow come back into. If they're confident, they feel like they got a gift from Santa. If there's weakness of earnings, I've seen a lot of times flow pre-earnings, okay, that look good, like look really tempting to take a shot into earnings. It shits the bed off earnings, okay. That morning, off the reaction, they'll come back and buy up that weakness. That they can't even wait. But there's also a ton of names that catch pre-earnings flow that you'll never see action in ever again. And what's that tell you? You know what I mean? What's that tell you? So that's the stuff to be looking at here. Anybody else have any last names before we wrap it up? I'll let you guys get Super Bowl ready. The Super Bowl for me means that much closer to opening day in baseball. That's about the extent of it. But I do think the Eagles take down the Patriots today. Don't ask me why. What would you say, Jonathan? You could post anything in this team room. What are you worried about? What are you apologizing about? AXP, did they report? I know Visa, MasterCard, all them. Did these guys report? Paul says go Yankees. I like Paul. They all reported, Maria? These credit card guys? So, this is another group. Let's see what the action looks like here. Again, this group has been so hot that I think you have two things you can look out for. If there's weakness, that quick trade. And if there's some sort of consolidation here, the accumulation. I mean, Visa, we were seeing that. How many times we saw that in Visa? Right? Do you remember? Some of you guys, I know, were on that webinar. I mean, when they were chewing up that Visa in that sideways action, remember? That was all the way back here. Where was it? Somewhere back here. I think it was here. Could it be that? Yep. Wow. So, you had some consolidation, run up, some pullbacks in between. Yeah, this is a little, this is an extension here. So we'll see. You get, again, Monday morning, I use that word again way too much, but Monday morning, you get some weakness in Visa. All of a sudden, it catches a decent looking sweep. You got to trade there, in my opinion. You got to trade there. You know, you're looking for more than that. You want to see some consolidation. You know what I mean? You want to see, doesn't have to be lengthy. It just, there has to be some consolidation here where it breeds, and then you look for action into that. Yeah, Brent, Brent's asking about the Twitter feed, the search. I can't even, I don't even know how to respond to that. You've seen me use it many times on this webinar. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it only shows me the last day or two. Again, I asked the question, somebody responded that every time Twitter does an update, it screws up with the protective accounts on the search. It's so annoying. I don't even know. I guess, can I email Twitter help just out of curiosity? Who do I ask? Who do I get to ask about that? I would love to solve that issue because it's so annoying. You know, look at this. You guys remember, I would use that search every webinar. Look at this. Now I can't even search anything on this Amazon. Doesn't even, it goes back, what, a day. So, yeah, Twitter gets in its moods. Oh, by the way, Twitter, nobody asked me about that. Twitter was an interesting name this past week. There's been a lot of spec activity in Twitter, some put selling in Twitter, and, you know, had a nice move. So Friday, you had some weakness there. Citron long Twitter, God bless America. Now they go long because they've had some trouble on the short side. But yeah, this thing has been interesting, I should say. Has been interesting. The flow of late has been spec action, but has been a nice trade for a couple of us in the room. I didn't trade it as much as I probably should have on an intraday basis, but there was some nice trades in this thing. You know, a couple of days it sold off the highs, but then the very next day, boom, around the sweeper activity and had a move. You know, so this is something to watch. You got earnings there. Yeah, it's M&A speculation. Salesforce again mentioned as one of the buyers. Then Google chatter on Friday. I would try not to get too wrapped up into that. You have earnings, basically, that's going to be a make or break on this Twitter. You know what I mean? This quarter is going to be an interesting quarter for Twitter because this thing's been acting a lot different. There was actually a light at the end of the tunnel last quarter. If they shit the bed this quarter, this thing is going to get crucified. So just be careful into earnings on all these things, guys. On all these things, especially if they're coming off decent moves. You know, because you could get good news and they're going to sell it anyway. So just be careful. Yeah, I'm surprised I didn't get any questions on the Twitter. Somebody said DVAX. Is that a biotech? DVAX. Where do I know this name? I know this name from somewhere. Might have caught Flow. Let me see. I don't know if they have earnings. This is probably why he's talking here. I remember this guy. So Jan 17th, July 20 calls. Not a bad looking sweep there. That was on January 17th. January, he nailed the lows. Yeah, so that was the last order. Whoever was asking me about that DVAX, that's why I remember it. This order was not a bad order. July 20s, a decent sweep for that name. You can see he hasn't really seen any action prior to that. You got to go back to all the way August some protection. This was $5. Wow. So yeah, I don't know if there's earnings or anything. Earnings in March. Yeah. They nailed the lows here, it looks like. So yeah, you got earnings in March. That's about all I know. But that was the order, if you're wondering, that I remember. July 20s when the stock was 15 and light change. July 20s. What else? Another bio name, just to mention. I don't know, again, how it's going to hold up in this market. Some of the bios look somewhat interesting. If this market can regain some footing. You know, this little guy, NEPT, caught a little more action, holding its own. Again, I don't know if this market falls on its face, how much of that it could do. But a ton of action throughout this. Cheap stock, $3 stock. Some put selling there too. That's probably why it's holding its own. What was one I was going to mention? This ABBV had a pull from the highs there. You know, this thing was red hot. You could, if this thing consolidates a bit, look for a secondary entry. It's going to be at higher levels, but you know, if this thing got away from you, you have another opportunity to look at it. BMRN, this one I find interesting. You got earnings right smack in the middle, but a July sweeper that piqued my interest in this thing. You talk about a disaster. Oof. But they could be jumping the break here. And again, you could wait till after earnings, and if you see action there, I think this thing becomes a must own. Whether it works out or not is irrelevant. But if they buy this thing post earnings and it's still trapped in this web, it's worth a shot. I think earnings mid-February on this thing, or end of February, maybe end of February. February 22nd. So you got some time there. You got some time. I just like this setup. You know what I mean? I like this setup when you see flow come into it. Because again, a lot of frustrated money, a lot of sellers. You never know when this thing's going to get out. And then flow tilts the odds. You know? And the July sweep was the best looking of the bunch with some time behind it. So something to keep an eye on anyway. The BMRN, without a doubt, something to keep on your screens. Oh, yeah, a lot of chop. I like that, though. You know, I like that. I like that when they catch a batch of good-looking sweeper activity. Like the FCX. Look at that. What a mess. And then, boop, the action, and she bust out. This thing exploded. Look, finally some selling there. I mean, look at this move, though. Look at this. Got out of control. Out of control. Abbott. Oh, yeah, she's strong. See Abbott catches some action from time to time. Smaller action. But there's been some action. Let me see. Was there anything in size in Abbott? Usually it's smaller action. Let's see. Oh. Abbott. These expired. This is all expired. Yeah, this is all expired stuff. Looks strong, though. That's it. What else? Any other names before we hang it up? Nothing. We're all good. All right. So yeah, my opinion: wait, be patient, stalk a couple things, wait till earnings get out of the way. If you miss it off earnings, who cares? All right. And then I think the flow again provides us an edge again. You know, I think the flow provides us a real big edge. Once we get through the earnings season, and especially if the markets have some volatility, some selling in them, And here's another thing. I think I mentioned this a couple of webinars ago. You had the melt up mode, which caught us all kind of by surprise, where they just bought everything. Prior to that, we were seeing rotation. Remember, sector to sector to sector. We could very easily go back to that post earnings. So that's a good thing too. You see some flow coming into a group. Get your eyeballs on the group before the move, make some money, and then try to get a gauge of where they're rotating next. Because since January, they've pretty much been buying everything. So it's been a lot different. So we'll see if now, as earnings wind down here, if they start rotating a little more aggressively. They start to focus on specific groups more than others, and allow some of the hotter stuff to breathe. So that's something to look out for. But we're almost there. We got another week or two of earnings, and we'll have a lot more names to look at post earnings. Jim is saying Miami boat show this weekend. Enjoy. That should be nice. Nice weather out there. I'm freezing my rear end off, and Jim is talking about a boat show in Miami. Fantastic. I go out, my snot freezes, and you're hanging out at boat shows. You got some racket over there. But everybody, enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the Super Bowl. And good luck next week. Stay patient out there. Let's see what the flow looks like. All right. And we'll do it again next Saturday. I'll talk to a lot of you guys next week. But I appreciate you all stopping by on a Saturday with me. Enjoy the weekend, everyone.